Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Round 9 preview. Carlton and the Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium on Saturday night. Boy, has it been a week. It's been painful. It's been difficult this week for a number of reasons. The last performance was not good enough. To be fair, the majority of the season has not been good enough. I'm concerned about our ability to execute. I'm concerned that there's deeper issues at play. It just feels all too familiar. And I think you can just sense the division already. That's what happens when you lose consistently, and we've lost 3 of the last 4. And part of my mind goes to the realization that it only takes 4 weeks to really end a season. We saw that at the end of last year. You lose 4 in a row and you miss out. And, part of the journey towards the next premiership, I would have thought is making finals this year, if not last year. And so I'm clinging on to that end result, playing finals football. I've gone through the full rotation of, anger, frustration, panic. And then there just comes a certain point where, how much can you do that to yourself? So my question is, do you step back? Not care less, but somehow just take a step back. Otherwise, you just go insane. And we are insane. We are a damaged group of supporters on a high level. We're damaged, mate. It's just constant disappointment. And I feel for the supporters first and foremost. I feel for all of us. I don't begrudge anyone, even though people will say things in the heat of the moment or the heat of the battle, whatever. We're all humans and we feel what we feel. But it's tough. It starts with the fans dividing, and then it ends how it always ends with this group. And I don't want to feel, and I don't want to watch that inevitable feeling of the breakdown and the collapse again. But the guys have really got to get the job done this week. I think where I realized all right, enough with the panicking was probably early in the week, Monday. The Chera comments come out. People grabbed, of all the things that he said, obviously the part around, this season wouldn't be a failure if we didn't make finals, because he was talking about the process and improving and getting better each day or each week, whatever it was. Combined with, Cookie coming out and saying, it wouldn't be the end of the world if we didn't play finals. And that's obviously going to rough up the fan base. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear, premiership. We're here for that this year. That's our goal. And I think there's somewhere in between where the club's communication is right now and where the fans want it to be. I think both sides can't have it exactly the way they're doing it. Somewhere in the middle. I think there needs to be an acknowledgement of, publicly, around the fact that no finals and the premiership, it's still our goal. Not that we don't know that it is, but when you don't hear that part of the conversation and it's not part of the message getting out, you can see why it riles up fans. And I'm lost. That's the truth. I'm a little lost with a lot of it. We're still nowhere near good enough for the good sides. We seem to be good enough against the poor sides. Lo and behold, if we lose a game against a really poor side, what that'll do. I think the Dogs are kind of not dissimilar to where we are this year. They've had some wins. They're coming off 3 in a row. Have they been convincing? No. Not dissimilar to us. They had a bit of a rejig at the start of the year. The first few games were not good enough for them. I find them to be somewhere where we are, in the right patch, in the same patch of the ladder. I think it's a pretty accurate reflection of where both of us are. We're just quite not good enough, and you don't know where it's going to go. Is it going to be a collapse, or are they going to be able to work through it? At the end of the day, it's round 9, and I don't believe the season's over. And that's probably why I'm just trying to get back on track to the week to week for now, because it's not enjoyable. Panicking is not enjoyable. Panicking is not what's needed. I think a level of calm and a level of poise is needed through the fire, because that's ultimately what we're asking of the players, to be able to deal with the pressure. We as the fans feel the pressure in a different way. We feel the pressure of, the burden of disappointment. And that just continues because it's been 26, 7, 8 years. It's too long. So it compounds. And also, I have a feeling maybe the way it ended last year has carried into this year as well. It was brutal. It was brutal. So have we started the season in the way that I hope we would? Nah, no way. Of course not. Is it fixable? I think it is, and the reason why I think it is because it's execution based. I think our biggest problem this year is on the field is execution based. Off the field is a chat for during the week in the Blue Broad show, because we can just dive into that. But I think on the field it's execution, and execution can be redeemed. And the players, when I strip it back, they just haven't got the ability right now to think quick enough about what to do. And it's impacting their ability to make the right decision. And if they are making the right decision, they're doing it it's too slow. So how do the group think quicker? And I feel, I could be totally wrong. I got no idea, because none of us have the main ingredient of information, and that is what's happening on the inside. I just base this on what I'm watching, so it's take it with a grain of salt. But there's something in their heads that's blocking them from doing what they need to mentally. There's been suggestions like, have we overrated the list? Are they just not as good as what we thought they were? Maybe. I just think when you are at this level, you are good enough. You are good enough at this level. And I just think mentally, we're not there yet. And when the heat comes for long enough, we just haven't got the ability to execute what we need to do. And there's something stopping them in their minds. It's interesting because we don't seem to be playing a very instinctive brand like what we were last year. And commented on it last night on the Blue Broad show around, it was very instinctive for the most part, what we were doing last year. And clearly we needed to add some layer of structure. And I think early in this season, we saw a little too much of that, a little too much control, a bit too slow. Is that just part of them learning this next level of the game plan? I don't know. Are they not ready to advance the way they play football? Don't know. But yeah, there needs to be a pressure release. There really needs to be a pressure release. The optimist in me says, well, the Dogs over the last 5 years, even at our worst, the Dogs have been a side that we've been able to get a hold of. So the optimist in me says, all right, if we can get a good win this week, it'll release some pressure and hopefully build some confidence. But then I just kind of go back to the West Coast game. It's like, what's the point of having a game for confidence when you're just going to come up against a good side the following week and it all breaks down because they bring top 4 or top 6 type pressure. So I'm caught. I'm stuck. I'm somewhere in between, and it's difficult. I'm trying to latch onto something that I can believe in. I believed in what we were doing in the preseason. I believed that the pain of the way 2022 ended would spur us on because it was so deep, such a harsh way to end a season that I'm sure stuck with them throughout the preseason. So I thought that external motivation, that external factor was going to help them improve with the way they went about their preseason. But so far there's a mental block, and we're kind of at round 9, and there needs to, be a level of urgency. The fact is we've lost 3 of our last 4. So you've got to continue. You've got to bounce back, and we have to do that this week. That's clear. The Dogs, they've got some injury concerns to some players that have hurt us in the past. Trelaw being one of them. You never want to wish injuries on anyone, but there are certain guys that won't be playing this week that I think could hurt us. I think he's certainly one of them. Team selection, it could go anywhere. I don't know. Suggestions, do we drop Josh Honey for Matt Owies? Is he ready to come in? Cottrell's played in the VFL relatively well? Does he come in? Jordan Boyd, these guys. Make sure you're tuning into Pommy and Oz and the team selection show. We'll be doing that as well. I'm not sure what the right mix is. There's probably a couple that I definitely want to change. I think Honey should come out for Owies. I feel like Honey's probably been playing the role that Owies does. And now that Owies is fit and he had a pretty good game in the VFL, I think you bring him in. Ultimately, I don't know. But I think that's the move. Cottrell could be experimental on that half forward line. We're not playing. We may or may not bring Fisher back in. I sense they probably won't after just 1 week in the VFL. So, yeah, what's it going to be this week? I think at the start of the season, I was a bit more confident in being able to rely on them. I even remember making comments and having thoughts that they had grown up and they had showed some emotional maturity because they were able to not play at their best but still find a way to win. And that unraveled pretty quickly. So, yeah, I've found myself, I don't want to be in this place where week to week it's such a different feeling. Where we're, our best is okay, our best is pretty good, and our worst is just poor. It's painful to watch. So this week's another opportunity to right the wrongs, get the season back on track in some sense. Like it's not over. I'm not giving up on the year yet. A lot of teams in the competition this year, even teams at the top, a lot of teams have had poor performances. We're now starting to build them up. So I have a belief in the group. I have a belief in what they can do. I have a belief in their capabilities. And as long as I have a belief in their capabilities, I'm going to be optimistic because that means there's a chance that they can get it done. But then there's just that inevitability, that moment in game that sometimes comes where in a quarter, the pressure is so immense and you just watch them falter under it that you just know what's coming. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle. It's a grind right now as a supporter. And yeah, definitely a test of patience. Definitely a test of patience. So, and I don't have the answers. I just have hope. I have hope for better days, whether it's this week and the rest of the season or just moving forward in general. I have hope. I think the moment you lose hope for it being rectified is a dangerous place to be, because I've definitely been there at times this year, and that's a tough place to be. I think especially when you create content as well, because sometimes you just don't want to do it. You just don't want to. You don't want to face up. But I feel like once you start a season, you got to finish it. Or once you start something, you got to finish it. So there's that. What about you? Like, where are you on the on the spectrum of completely off them and still hopeful? There's no right or wrong at this stage. Everyone will feel differently because everyone's got a different experience watching them, different biases. They subscribe to different theories. There's plenty out there. So where are you sitting on this? Where I am, as I said earlier, I'm not giving up on the year just yet. I still think it's alive. It's well and truly alive. And I just think we're going through a challenging patch. I probably thought the hardest patch of the season would be the one that we're about to go on, the next 6 to 8 games just before the bye. That was where I pictured the real tough patch coming. So, alas, it's here now. It's a challenge now. And yeah, I think the disconnection between fan, club, player right now is starting to show its head again. Early stages, but starting to show its head again. And yeah, that's where I'm concerned. But I'll be there Saturday. Where else am I going to be? Maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know. Anyway, looking forward to it. Big week ahead. Let's see what they dish up. Looking forward to seeing what you have to say in the comments. Let me know what you think, and we'll go from there. Go Blues.